This company is so done.
Oh no! It looks like the national park systems are failing and need some help. I know just who can help.
Who?
We can!
Okay, first off, who are you people? And second, what's your idea?
We have a proposal for a new Mount Rushmore with new influential faces from the Cold War.
Why the Cold War? Well, I'm glad you asked.
I didn't.
Well, the Cold War lasted over 4 decades between the Soviet Union and the United States. Although they never fought directly, political tensions escalated between the two countries, almost leading to a third World War and worldwide nuclear devastation.
Let's break this down further. We have an acronym to help you remember why our plan is the one to save the national parks. Safe, ageless, daring, not expensive, savory, significant. Sadness.
Let's get into this, shall we? And to better understand what you are getting into, let us take you to the site of our monuments.
Wait, where are we going?
Let's start with S, safe.
We all know that the moon is a dangerous place, so we have taken every necessary precaution to make sure you arrive and leave in one piece.
As we all know, the moon does not have any oxygen, so our scientists have developed a shot to provide an infinite amount of oxygen to your cells while we are above the atmosphere.
Wow!
And don't worry, in the case of an asteroid attack, our highly trained group of engineers have designed an umbrella to repel these massive attacks.
Now, if you are afraid of floating away due to low gravity, do not fear, our engineers are here. And our engineers have invented the resistance omnidirectional bowling equipment, or rope for short, in case you want it. The rope ensures that our guests who are afraid will not float away, no matter what direction they are being pulled from, saving us from unnecessary lawsuits and saving our guests from any unnecessary trauma. Our final safety precaution is in case if our guests experience a faulty oxygen shot. Paramedics on site will immediately throw our oxygen ball at our patron's head. This device will diffuse oxygen into the patron's body, saving their life. Are you a kid? Well, fear not, my fellow kids. There are many great activities on Mount Petrum for you, including ping pong diplomacy. Are you a teenager? Mm-hmm. Well, you'll love our game Containment, where you and a friend will be put in a simulation where you'll have to contain the communist spare, such as this one.
Wrong.
Now here's an example of one of our lovely guests enjoying this game.
Don't worry, adults, we didn't forget about you.
You'll love our moon spa, which gives great moon rock massages.
Now, you may be wondering where this great monument will be. Well, it'll be where I'm standing right now, the moon. Now, you may be wondering, why the moon? We chose the moon primarily because of its importance in the space race, which was a major battle in the Cold War. You see, when the US effectively placed the man on the moon, we won the space race and done what no other country has done before. We also chose the moon because of its appeal to the younger generation, which will make it so much more popular. Another reason why we chose the moon is because of advancements in modern space travel, which allows us to easily transport tourists from Earth to the moon.
Now on to NNE, which stands for non-expensive. But I'm too uneducated to speak on you on this matter, so it is my pleasure to introduce our Chief Financial Officer, Giovanni Inklovich.
Alright, yeah, no, I can't talk right now. Alright, so, as we heard before, space travel technology has improved greatly over the years, and we now have the resources to transport many people from Earth to the moon. If we did this a few years earlier, this would cost billions of dollars, but now we can do it in a cost-effective manner. And you know what relatively low cost means? Huge profits for our government.
We're almost Almost done. Now on to savory. Giovanni, care to explain?
Sure thing. We know that after hours of traveling and enjoying all of the great attractions we have at Mount Petra National Park, patrons and their families will end up hungry. That's why we have a bunch of Moon and Cold War themed restaurants for you to enjoy.
Explain more.
Sure thing. You can come on down to the Moon Rock Cafe where we serve authentic American cuisine. I recommend the Moon Garita Pizza. Or you can come on down to Cold War Creamery where we have dozens of flavors ranging from American to Russian cuisine. Public surveys have shown menu to be our most popular flavor.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Well, I know you're already convinced that Mount Petrum is the best option to save the national park system, but we haven't even talked about the pièce de résistance, the people on the monuments. And that brings us to our last letter, S, for significance.
We have 4 people on display in Mount Petrum: Harry S. Truman, George F. Kennan, John Foster Dulles, and John F. Kennedy.
Oh. The first to be featured on our monument was a really true man. Harry S. Truman was the president at the time in which the Cold War started, in 1947. The Truman administration crafted the Truman Doctrine to contain communism by providing aid to any country defending themselves against communism. Truman also oversaw the Berlin airlift, in which the U.S. flew in supplies to West Berlin after Stalin cut off all access to force the U.S. out. In doing so, he asserted American power over the Soviet Union and showed Stalin that the U.S. would not back down. He also helped to create and join NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, to strengthen opposition to the Soviet Union's communist policies. This organization created an alliance with Eastern European nations that proclaimed an attack on one would be an attack on all. Overall, Truman, as he was the first to have dealt with the war, faced an extremely difficult task that he handled exceptionally well. And this is why we chose Harry S. Truman.
George F. Kennan was a Foreign Service officer in the Soviet Union during the end of the World War II and the beginning of the Cold War. In 1946, he sent his long telegram to the Department of State from the Soviet Union. This outlined his view on the Soviet regime and how the U.S. must limit their expansion. It also led to the creation of the Doctrine of Containment, which was the main piece of U.S. foreign policy during the Cold War. The Doctrine of Containment called for the U.S. to contain the Soviet Union and apply to areas such as Asia, including Korea and Vietnam, Eastern Europe, and Latin America. Kennan wanted a foreign power to counter Soviet gain in the East and thought that a superpower was needed to compete for influence. This policy of containment is seen throughout many presidential decisions in the Cold War. Specifically, it's seen in the Truman Doctrine and the Eisenhower Doctrine.
After President Dwight D. Eisenhower, what was his nickname again? After President Dwight D. Eisenhower, nicknamed Ike, was elected into office in 1952, John Foster Dulles was named as Secretary of State. Dulles was known for a strong stance against communism and the management of the crises of Suez, Indochina, and Lebanon, and modern-day historians refer to him as the Cold Warrior. He also concentrated on building up the North Atlantic Treaty and other alliances. John Foster Dulles also believed in the idea of brinksmanship, which was the philosophy for America to go as close to war but without actually going into war. As Secretary of State, John Foster Dulles enforced a new policy of boldness, which decreased the size of the Army and the Navy, increased the size of the Air Force, increased the size of the nuclear arsenal, and increased the use of the Central Intelligence Agency, otherwise known as the CIA. Those policies signified a change in approach in negotiations with Soviet leaders, and this is why we chose John Foster Dulles.
Now on to a more well-known figure, President John F. Kennedy. When Kennedy came to office, the Soviets had not only sent Sputnik to space, they had also sent the first man to space. Kennedy quickly declared that the United States would send a man to the moon by the end of the decade, shocking both Americans and Soviets alike. Needless to say, the United States accomplished this, although not during his presidency, putting them ahead in the space race. Furthermore, Kennedy launched many campaigns abroad to foster friendly foreign relationships, including the Food for Peace program, Alliance for Progress, and most famously, the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps involves sending young American volunteers to underdeveloped nations to spread their knowledge and experience, fostering better relations with people in countries abroad. JFK was faced with the Cuban Missile Crisis, which could have led to complete nuclear devastation. However, thanks to his decisions and the advice and actions of those in his administration, he successfully negotiated peace with Khrushchev. Unfortunately, Kennedy's presidency was cut short when he was assassinated on November 22nd in 1963. We felt it was only right to honor his legacy by putting him on the monument. And that's pretty much all we have to offer here.
Well, I guess we have to teleport back. Teleport!
I hope you now know that Metal Petrum is your answer to save the national parks. It will make you billions of dollars.
The monument commemorates the significant figures in the Cold War and honors their work, which will continue to affect us today.
And it is sure to attract the public interest. It is out of this world! Dude.
One second, I'm on the phone.
Dude, actually,
Can we do it?
did you listen?
Yeah, just do it, just do it.
Oh yeah, yeah, 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 oh yeah, yeah.